She doesn't even go here.
I'm bi, actually.
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Hi, I'm Kurt Hummel, and I'll be auditioning for the role of kicker.
Hello! Welcome back to Not So Straight Nerds. I am your host, Luke,
And I'm Alicia.
and we are going to be talking about the Season 2 premiere of The Last of Us. Ooh, spooky, scary.
Blah.
Fungi.
Yeah. Zombies.
So, real quick, we are going to go over the premiere that came out this last weekend on Sunday. It replaced The White Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P. that show, but some very fun things.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years since we've last seen Joel and Ellie on this show.
I think so. It's been a long
It's been
time.
a hot second. So it's very nice to see them again. I feel like the show is kicking right back into high gear where we left it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
But before we start getting into that conversation, how are you feeling? How are the vibes?
I feel good.
Hi, Jen.
I've had another off day, so not doing much. I started Black Mirror. I'm almost done with the 4th episode.
Okay.
So I basically only have 2 more because the 4th episode is not amounted to much. So we'll see. We'll make our own video on that once you've watched it, once I
very
finish
excited
it.
to start watching Black Mirror.
But yeah, I'm excited to talk about The Last of Us. You know, this will. I'm excited. We're probably gonna start breaking up our Sunday and Tuesday shows. We kind of thought. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll
we have
see.
so much
But
to
definitely
yap
like
about,
the
but-
premieres and the finales for sure, because
For
there's just
sure.
so much to talk about. So, yeah. What about you?
My vibes? I've been working on stuff all day, so I'm ready to be done.
Nice
I'm
break.
so glad I'm done, and now I get to
Mhm.
yap.
Now you can
And then I
yap
get to
instead of
eat.
just type.
Ugh, and then I have
Yeah.
to do one other thing today, but whatever. It's fine. It's so fine. I actually don't
'Cause-
even know if that was intelligible, but
I don't know
I guess
either.
we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
So,
But anyways, yeah. We'll just
but real quick, before we got into the new episode,
right.
I think it's worth kind of talking about how we felt about Season 1.
Mhm.
This is the second season. We didn't have a podcast when Season 1 was coming
Yeah.
out. So, overall impression, and I will say, we will be spoiler talking Season 1.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into non-spoilers for the first episode of Season 2, just in case you just haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. And then we'll warn you whenever we go spoiler talk for Season 2. But we are spoiler talking about Season 1 of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So, what was your overall impression of the first season?
Honestly, because it's been so long, I forgot how good the first season was. And just a preference, neither one of us has played the game.
Correct.
So I have heard from the game fans that the show is not their favorite. They still think it's good. Usually I see they still think it's good, but they're basically saying when the game is perfection, inevitably the show cannot be perfection. But that's not our view, so just kind of keep that in mind when we talk about the show. We don't have that to compare it to. And honestly, in certain ways, I'm glad because I love the show and I really don't want to like play the game and it like
Well, 'cause
dampen my
that's the
view.
thing whenever you're adapting a game, especially I think a game like this, is so much of the game is sneak around, fight zombie, like in story and mission, not even story, but like go grab something, bring it here, and that's not how like a show works.
Right.
So,
Well, because they're even saying The Last of Us, one of the criticisms of the game is that it's not enough action, too much story, which makes it great to adapt because you have a lot of story. But then I think that's where that complaint comes in of, I really like how this is delivered here. I like how it looks. And so it's kind of like, since I read a lot of books, I would imagine it's kind of like book to movie adaptations or TV show adaptations. It's just, you know, you have an image of what it looks like in your head, and inevitably the adaptation is not going to do that. Even if it's really good in its own right, it's still going to be different than it can't be what everyone has in their head because it's a little different. Which again, books, it's a little different because you imagine the visuals in your head versus the game you have the visuals.
man.
So I mean, it's a little different, but I imagine in certain aspects it would be similar.
Sure.
So I understand the complaint.
with
That's
that,
just, you know.
I think it also is interesting to talk about that The Last of Us 2 was not
Yeah.
well received.
That is true.
So I think it's going to
Yeah.
be really interesting to see if the meddling around on the storyboards is anything favorable. I think inherently going into The Last of Us 2, you already are taking a big risk, and I think at least for mainstream appeal, people like what the show was, and I think even within the gaming realm, like you said,
It's still overwhelmingly
not
possible
negative,
or
it's
positive.
still fine to positive.
Right.
So I'm really interested to see how this
Yeah.
season, this newest season goes. How
and they're splitting it up too into 2 seasons. If you don't already know, part 2 is getting split up into a season 2 and a season 3 TV show wise. So that's a lot different too.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully there's not as long of a gap, although we just kind of have to anticipate it, which is a bummer.
Well, it would be nice if it was like Wicked. That's why I really like that. I don't mind at all. I know a lot of people were skeptical when Wicked was announced to be part 1 and part 2. I feel like that was inevitable personally, and I'm really glad it was. But I also really love that it's only a year apart, so it's not like 3 years. So I'm a little worried if they have another 3-year gap, which I understand, like the strikes happened, some COVID stuff was still lingering.
But I think a part of that is the conversation of studios not trusting these kind of projects and having to wait to renew a second season. Whereas if you look at, say, Daredevil, which is, while this first season was going, it was already greenlit for season 2. So next year we'll have season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. Whereas
HBO shows typically don't do that.
Was season
or
3
Max
already
shows
greenlit?
I know they had plans on splitting it into 2 seasons. I would not be surprised if it was greenlit for another one. But even like White Lotus, has that even officially been greenlit for season 4?
I know they've talked about it, but I actually don't know if I've seen
That's
that.
what I'm wondering, because
but
they
I'd be surprised
certainly,
because it's already done so much better than the other
right.
ones.
But even I just feel like Max has this really bad habit of just taking forever to greenlight the next season and then finally start writing and then finally start filming, which is why you have these 2 or 3 year gaps. I'm thinking of you, House of the Dragon.
And I think that's just kind of a Warner Brothers issue. I think there's a lot of lack of faith in.
And it's
the
ruining their
creators
shows
that
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Honestly. So
I
I
agree.
don't know. It's something to mention. So especially with the part 1, part 2, you can't have a 3-year gap. So I'm a little worried for them, but
That's
I'll
okay.
still watch it, but we'll see.
So,
Anyways.
I listed some of the things I wanted to mention as we look at season 1. I really loved with so much zombie content out there, especially in the in the TV space. I think these like mushroom zombies, I love them. I think that they've done a really good job to make them feel unique, and they have their unique design and their unique, like the weird the
the tendrils
that come out of their mouths and
yeah, it's
I
very
think-
unique. When you have so much zombie content, it all feels very unique.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then the
that's really
visuals
awesome.
with it looks really great. The way that they make the cities, part of that has to go to the game's designers, but the way that they bring it to life in like hyper realism
Looks
and
great.
like production design, it all comes across really well.
Yeah,
So much love to the craft of this show.
Absolutely.
And the writing, it's just it feels like an HBO show.
Max, I guess.
I think this is-
Apparently, it's different. I don't know.
I think
I've
this
heard
is an HBO
people.
show because it's taking over the
Okay,
Sunday
maybe
spot.
that. Okay.
So
Because that whole thing confuses me because it's an HBO show, but they call themselves Max. I'm like, what are we doing here, people? Why did we drop the HBO? Because clearly it's an important part of the brand. But whatever. That's a whole nother conversation.
So I super love the zombies, super love the mushrooms, love everything that I've seen them do with it, like the pressure plate where you like mess with one and then suddenly a horde that's like locked into the same like fungal chain.
They
knows where
know.
you are. Oh, they just do some awesome stuff
Yeah.
with that, and
Very
it looks like
fascinating.
they're already starting to grow off
Expand
of that,
on that.
so far, and I'm
Yep.
very, very excited to see that kick up.
Me too.
And then obviously we have to talk about Joel.
Yes.
Half of our leads, played by Pedro Pascal. I think it took a second for him to kind of settle into the role.
I think
I
so.
think but also he is such a grounded character. Like he's not flashy until he's doing an action scene. But definitely, I think the character really grew, at least on me, as he started developing his bond with Ellie, and I think I would say even just like halfway through the season, it's like I'm locked in.
Yeah.
So
He's great. He really does. That's a good way of putting it. He grows into the role.
yeah, and then now I'm just so excited to see him at the start of the season.
So yeah.
So yeah,
Let's
that's the
go
end
on.
of that
Yeah.
sentence. and then that intro, the first episode, I remember watching that for the first time and just being it's
That
like,
first episode was, especially like the opening monologue, mind blowing. I mean, I still think about that episode.
yeah.
Such a
and
great
I will
episode.
say, I think Pedro's great in that that first episode, and then it cuts to like years later in the zombie apocalypse,
Yeah.
and then
And
it's
then
like, so now what's your character? And it feels like it takes a second for us to for me to like get on board with what all's happening there, and then I'm on board and I'm there.
Well, and I think it came at a really interesting time too. Bless you.
Did it? Did it really?
Speaking of sneezing and coughing and being sick, we have to talk about COVID. It came out at a very interesting time, so it was very like spooky. I think it came at a perfect time too, because I think if it came out like in 2020, we would have been like, I don't want to watch. I'm literally living this nightmare. I don't want to watch a nightmare. But it just came. What 2022? I guess.
Yeah.
That's perfect because you have a couple years to digest and live in the world. It's still not fun, but it's getting a little more back to normal. It's less depressing. You're getting out of your house, and then you see the show, and they're doing it so well, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is based off a video game. And so it's like they're tying in these two things, what's off the game, and then also it just feels so...
in lockdown, I'm sure that game had a huge resurgence as well.
Yeah,
so
I bet so.
all kinds of...
It's just, it became so relevant. Eerily relevant. So...
And then also, I think just with that first episode, his daughter, played by Nico Parker, who is going to be Astrid, in the How to Train Your Dragon
she looks
movies.
great.
I think she's great. I think she really shines in that episode, and that was before we knew that she was going to eventually get to where she is this year. So
absolutely good for her. Absolutely. She was great in this show, the little time she was in it, and I'm excited for Astrid. She seems very good in the trailer. I like the design of her outfits and the braids. I don't know. It's great.
Yeah.
Very excited for that movie.
And then Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey.
Yeah. They're great.
Yes, I think in the first episode, whenever she just didn't have a personality because she's angry, I was like, I know that this upset some people, and I'm not loving it so far, but then like episode 2, I think, was when I was like, oh, this is fun. And then she becomes hilarious with her joke book. And then the way she's the one who always tries to like reach out and connect to the people, and Joel's the one who's like, don't look at them. We're gonna pass them and it'll be fine. I think that whole dynamic works so well because of those two actors, and it's just, such a fun time.
And good for Bella Ramsey because they were in Game of Thrones.
Also with Pedro Pascal.
So, yeah. Well, good for them that they got to come together and really grow into their roles and shine together. I think Belly. Sorry, I'm thinking of The Summer I Turned Pretty, I guess. That's the main character's name is Belly. Anyways, Bella Ramsey was great in Game of Thrones, and they're great here. So, yeah. Very excited. Well, they get great. Like Pedro Pascal. It's okay.
And, yeah, it's so great. Ellie, for those who want the spoilers of Season 1, she is immune to the fungal virus that is making all of these zombies and these clickers. So it is interesting to see Joel trying to take her to what the organization called the Firefly so they can try and recreate whatever is keeping her from turning. And then by the end of that, the Fireflies are dead.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Which leads into Season 2.
It does. Before they go, there's also the character Tess, played by Anna Torv.
Yes.
I thought she was also unimpressive, unfortunately.
Really?
It was.
She was okay. I remember
think the
her being
entire
okay.
Opening, like everyone in the beginning, felt very like, we're gonna ease you into this, and it was like, I don't want to be eased into this. I want you to do something interesting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, she was all just there during the time where they were trying to ease us into everything, and I'm like, the most interesting thing I can remember from her is that kiss
Oh,
Which-
didn't they win an award for that?
They got nominated for
Oh.
the audience.
They should have
award.
won, honestly. I would have. Because that's just a kiss for one reason or another. You will never forget.
Yeah, because it has the
So-
tendrils going straight into her mouth, and the tendrils are what if you get bit. It's the tendrils that like get into your system
Yeah,
and make
infect
you
you.
infected,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was
Ugh.
gross.
Sorry. Oh,
And
I
then-
should probably put a warning for those who are sensitive by gags. I'm so sorry.
And then the Bill and Frank episode, one of the best honestly, I'd probably say the best thing to come out of that first season. Played by Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett. I know they got a lot of awards recognition for that.
For some reason, I
episode as
skipped
well.
a line, so I was like, "Who are you talking about?" And I had to scroll up. Yes, obviously, and that won awards, right? That
I
episode
believe
or
so.
got nominated.
I
at
think
least?
Nick Offerman won an award for it.
Okay,
I
good.
don't remember how many other things it won, but it
'Cause,
was
I mean, that just, like,
people absolutely adored that
Yes,
episode, rightfully
shook
so,
the internet absolutely.
which is great.
Oh,
So
that was season 1 is so good. Like
Yeah.
when you think about it, it's like overall that it was a really solid season.
yeah, I think
so.
a lot of the episodes. I think most of the episodes are good to okay.
Mhm.
That one's a great one, and then also bringing me into another great episode was the Endure and Survive episode with Henry and Sam, the two brothers.
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that was really good
That
too.
one also
Mhm.
so great and heartbreaking.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me, but the two I think best episodes are the ones that are the most heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's me.
Mhm.
I like it tragic.
Yeah, because it's it's becoming interesting. It's not just another zombie apocalypse. There's a lot of other things going on, and it's still at the central part of the story because it's the reason all of these things, tragic things, are happening essentially. But it's not the only thing that's happening. I guess it's kind of
Yeah.
like COVID. It's like it affected so many people's stories.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was very sad to watch, but they did a great job, the actors.
I think also it's worth noting also how great the Ellie and I forget the character's name, but Storm Reed's character.
Yes.
The flashback to right before
That was really
Ellie-
good, too.
I think that was when Ellie found out that she was cured because I think that. Oh, it's been a second since I watched
Oh,
it, but I
I
remember
feel
that
like
it
you're
ends
right,
with
though.
her girlfriend getting bit, and I
Right.
think they both get bit, and then it ends. You don't see her have to deal with her girlfriend getting
Yeah.
infected, but
Mhm.
I think it ends with the idea that she's gonna realize that
Yeah.
she's gonna walk away, and that her girlfriend isn't, and it's
Mhm.
it's tragic.
Because I feel like I remember her getting bit, and then she's really upset about that because she thinks she's gonna die, and then we see Storm Reed's character get bit as well. So then they kind of think they're gonna like at least die together,
Mhm.
but we as the viewers are like, oh, they're not though, and that's really sad.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Like the best moments are the saddest ones usually. I don't know if there's a lot of happy moments in the show.
Yeah,
but
I will say a memory I always remember is whenever they see the giraffes roaming free in the city.
that was
I
a
think
good
that
one
was
too.
A really pretty
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah. And I still think about
Beyond
that
that, and
opening
then the joke
monologue.
book is really sweet.
Mhm.
And then I
Yeah.
think whenever Ellie tries to bond with the people along the way,
Mhm.
I think it's really cute to see them try and find like the light in the dark,
Mhm.
hope whenever things are so horrible.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
really fun. And then the ending of that season ends with Joel getting Ellie to the Firefly lab where they are trying to make a cure for the virus is it a virus? Is it the
Fungal infection. The
with Ellie's
I don't
blood,
even know what you
and then
call
it's
it.
revealed after she is put into surgery. They tell Joel that she is going to not
She's gonna
survive
die.
the procedure,
Mhm.
and then Joel.
Which they didn't tell her that either, which is very important.
But also, I think the way
I think she
she
still would have gone
definitely
through
went
with
in
it.
being okay,
Yeah,
which I think is
absolutely.
a whole part of season 2. But
Yeah. It's a very
but
messy situation.
The whole point is that Joel ended up killing everyone on his way to get her out of there.
Mhm.
And so the Firefly organization, all of its people were dead.
Mhm.
And so he takes Ellie and he leaves and he goes to where his brother has this little walled up civilization out in the snow. And right before they get there, he has a lie that he tells Ellie.
Mhm.
And he says that they couldn't save him. They couldn't get the cure from her.
Mhm.
It didn't work. so we're just gonna go to the next place. They let us go, and they're fine. And Ellie is like, look me in the eye and tell me that that's true, and then we'll go. And he ultimately lies, and that's the last shot of season 1, which is the people who play the games know is going to be a huge factor in season 2.
Right. And we know a little bit about what happens, especially the main thing. Which if you
thing.
know anything about the show, whether you've played the game or not, you know what we're talking about. We're not going to mention it for those who don't.
Correct.
We'll kind of dance around it a little
Our
bit.
spoiler talk
but
will only ever be about the episode that comes out.
yeah.
So
we might be talking about it next week.
maybe. We have no idea when we're going to talk about the big thing about
We'll
The Last
see.
of Us 2.
We'll
But, so now we're going to start going into our non-spoiler talk for the first episode. So, Alicia, what are some of the things you really liked about this episode?
Okay, another thing. So I know Bella Ramsey's casting was a little controversial because they don't exactly look copy and paste like Ellie from the game. I think the biggest thing that's tripping people up is the lack of a side part. I'd be really interested to see if the side part helps at all, but I think it's a little too late for that. But I do have to wonder if that would help at all. I don't really care because I didn't play the games. And with that being said, I don't really care that Abby's not that buff. I will mention, for what happens later, it may not make sense, but I'm sure they'll figure out a way to make sense. Because she has to be strong for something that happens later. But I don't know. We'll see. I really like the actress, so I wasn't that mad. I am a little like, okay, how are they going to explain
And for
what
those who don't know,
happens?
Abby is going to be a main antagonist throughout this season
Yes.
and going forward.
Yeah. I really like the actress though, so
Yeah, she's
every
so
other
talented.
yeah, and so because of that, I'm not that worried. I'm way more excited than I am like hesitant because she's just so great, and she's so great in this episode too. Like I'm very, very intrigued to know more about her story beyond the little things that I've heard. I don't know. Is it weird that I am thinking that I'm not going to hate her like everybody else hates her because of the things she does?
I mean, I like everything in.
I mean, it's
these
gonna be
kind of-
sad.
like everything in these kinds of mediums, it depends on how they do it. It
That's
really
so true.
does.
Because right now she
Right.
doesn't seem annoying. She doesn't seem like...
Yeah, she just seems dead focused.
Right. And she seems to have a very clear motive for what she wants to do. So it's like, I'm not going to like what she does, but am I going to hate her? I don't know.
But am I gonna say that she slayed? Maybe.
Maybe. No. I do hope that actress has a good support system, though, because even if I don't hate her, I know the internet's going to hate her. So, good luck to her. But I thought she did great, and I thought it set up some interesting opportunities for her
I'm very
storyline.
excited. She has a little ensemble around her, which I recognize a lot of. I think, including her, I know 4 out of the 5 of them. And so I'm very, very excited.
Danny
to see more of them. We have
Ramirez.
Falcon there. We have Falcon. We have Tati Gabriel, I think. Gabrielle is her name. She's from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. She was in Uncharted. She seems to be playing a much different character than she typically does.
I'm excited.
Although I'd imagine she still probably gets some action.
Yeah.
Then there's also Ariella Barrere, who I know from Runaways, which is a very fun show.
And I have not
Marvel.
seen that one, so I don't even know who you're talking about. But
And
I'm
then
glad you know.
boom, boom, boom. And then Owen is also part of her gang, and apparently I've heard that he's going to grow on us. Apparently.
Okay.
Interested to see how. He's the only one I don't know. So.
I know something about him and Abby.
Gasp! I don't.
That's all.
But anyways, continue.
Okay. I also I'm interested in Joel and Ellie's dynamic. It's frustrating seeing them just not... You so clearly see why they're not clicking. I hate the people that are like going online and be like, why is she mad at him? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because she knows that he's lying to her. Duh. Anyways. I see. It's still frustrating watching it happen. I mean, she's still being rude to Joel, but like, looky, Joel is in fact lying to her. So, what can you do? But I like that dynamic. It's interesting to watch. I know some stuff that happens later. So I don't know. I think it's a fun thing not fun thing they're exploring. Interesting thing they're exploring. Whatever.
Yeah, I think it's all done really well.
Yeah.
And I think it brings in really interesting conversations, because I don't think it's super spoilery to say, because I think you definitely get the impression at the end of the season 1 finale is that Ellie was definitely prepared to not come out of that surgery at all. So
Yep.
I think you see her dealing with the fact that she feels robbed of the sacrifice that she wanted to make to protect Joel and all of the people that she lost to this thing, and save everyone and be like the hero. And Joel, and she knows that Joel took that away from her, and Joel's not even able to say that to her.
Yeah.
So they can't even talk about it out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about a sweetie, though. I love this sweetheart of a character, Miss Dina. Oh my gosh, she is great. Who plays her?
Dina is played by
Isabella
Isabella Merced.
Okay.
And
She's great. Miss Dora. Can you say delicioso?
She is so
I actually have
charming.
not seen that movie,
I've
but I have
her
seen
in
that scene.
And we've seen her in so much stuff recently.
Madam
But
Web,
already,
Alien Romulus.
she pops out so much here.
I feel like she's already giving her best performance
Yes.
that I've seen.
Absolutely.
So-
She's so personable.
And that dynamic with Joel is very interesting.
She has a dynamic with both Joel and Ellie, and I think it's really interesting to see this character come out of the blue and just be in the middle of both of them so like integrally. So I think I'm going to be very fascinated to see how everything kind of unravels between all of that.
Yeah.
Very, very interested to see the staying power she has here.
Well, and Dina and Ellie have great chemistry. If
Yes, they
you haven't seen the episode at the end, they kiss. They have a little switchy switch. It is great. They're just so cute. I love them, and I think they make a great pair. In and outside of whatever their relationship looks like, I think they just work really well as a pair. Very excited to see that romance blossom. I know a little bit of what happens later, little sprinkles, or I think I know a little bit, but I'm excited to watch however long we get to watch. So
Absolutely.
I don't know. I have literally no idea if their relationship has an ending or not, or as far as we know, if it's still there by the end of the second game. No idea. So I'm excited to watch however long that lasts. So, yeah, if it lasts the whole time, that's great. I'm a little scared. So I was a little scared in that store scene, even though I knew that they were both gonna
love that
live. I was
store
still
scene.
like, ooh, I don't like this. I hate it.
Oh, that was
Anyways.
that. I don't know if I've seen something be as like well done, chilling as
Yeah.
I think that scene was. It was very fun.
It's very good at making you feel very nervous, even though you know that they're gonna be. Well, I guess if you haven't played the game, you don't necessarily know that either one of them is gonna be alive. We did, so I guess, but it was still very nerve-wracking. We were
For
still
sure.
like clenching our like teeth and our muscles. We were just so like,
Ah,
oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
no,
Don't
no,
look,
no,
don't
no.
look, don't look. No. Wait. Anyways.
Lord.
Another great character. She's new from the game. I don't think her
Yes.
storyline or her character is in the game whatsoever. Miss Therapist Catherine O'Hara. Oh my god, she's great.
We
She's
love her.
also
We love Gail.
she's coming for that Emmy, low key. She's competing with Parker Posey, with Carrie Coon here, because she had that monologue and she slayed that monologue. So
And that whole dialogue beforehand, like every time I see her on screen, I'm like, I'm so glad you came back.
Right. Oh my god, I'm so excited for her. And I think that storyline's very interesting. I do wonder where they're going to go with that.
And I think
That's
because
all
you
I'm gonna
have
say on that.
someone who's so fun, and she's being used in a way to kind of unpack the like themes and the plot of these characters
Yeah.
really well. I think it makes it a really juicy role for her, and I
Yeah.
love to see that happen.
And then my last point was I liked the comparison on how you handle loss and then go on to do revenge. Can't say much about that. Again, if you know the big thing that happens, you know why that was impactful for me. I'm very excited I love that parallel because I know what's going to happen and I know a little bit of where they're going to go with it. Very excited that they already made that connection because they are two different situations. This is so weird being so big on this. We will explain later when it happens, but
Yes, I cannot wait to be able to discuss when it happens. I just hope it is done as well as it can be.
It's gonna be so brutal. Anyways,
So
what about you?
One of my pros, some of the ones you didn't mention, there are 2 new elements that they add that aren't from the game that I think are gonna really change things up in the show, and I think it's gonna do it in a really great way. I think there are ways that incorporate the whole apocalypse aspect of this whole story, and I think it's going to ramp it up in a way that some people thought was a little tame in the game. So I'm very excited to see them add some elements and make sure that the whole apocalypse aspect is still relevant to everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great idea.
I agree.
And we'll get more into what those changes are in a little bit.
Yep.
And then the great action scene, we mentioned it a little in the store. It's very chilling. As soon as there's like a moment when it starts going off, and it is so terrifying until it's over.
Yeah.
And it's just so well done, so well shot. Catherine O'Hara does great. We see...
Ooh, I will say it's chilling too because of the difference they make to the
They make
I
some
guess like
changes.
zombie or whatever that attacks Ellie. I forgot. They have different names and I forget which one is which. But anyways, I'll just call it zombie because that's essentially what it is. Because we're so used to them being loud and honestly a little bit, well, not stupid, but like I guess just unaware, less aware of what's happening because they can't see. And so to have this zombie literally like stalk her and plan out what she's going to do in order to attack her was very interesting because it's like we've never seen them do this before. Why is this happening? Like this is like upping the stakes here. So I don't know. That was very interesting.
I said, what did I say? Abby.
Joel?
We don't see a lot of
Oh.
Abby this episode, but from what we see, I think I'm already super into it.
Yep.
So super excited to see her develop. There's a huge time jump in the middle of this episode, so I'm imagining we're going to see a lot of flashbacks, especially for her and her crew. I'm very excited to learn more about where they've been.
Me too.
And then we talked about Dina. She's great. Joel, he's trying his best. I think it's really great. I think a great element of this first episode that they talk about is Joel says, I never had a daughter last this long, and she never had a dad last this long, so we're both just trying to figure out how that works. And I think that's a great line. I think it's him trying to find another explanation for why this is happening instead of dealing with the actual reason.
Yeah.
I think that is so great, seeing Joel distract himself from the real issue, and he still cares about Ellie, but he knows that he's crossed a line. He doesn't want to say that. Ellie knows that he crossed a line.
She's mad that he won't
very
say
mad,
that
yeah.
and that he did that and that she just doesn't know specifically what he did.
Yeah, and then
I don't know.
Ellie, I think, is very understandably angry throughout this whole episode. I think the more you kind of sit and think about it and unpack it, I think it makes so much sense why.
Yeah.
I think it's really
She has every right to be mad.
to see, and then I think it is really interesting the idea that she was ready to die, and Joel took that from her, and then here comes Dina, and this whole community that her and Joel are so integral to, and she's dealing with the fact that, I guess, making the best of the life that she didn't ask for, and I think, especially with her and Dina this episode, it's really beautiful to kind of highlight that, well, you didn't want this, but look at it.
Yeah. Well, and I hope a lot of people come around to see both sides, because I think most people see Joel's side because, of course, we wanted Ellie to be saved too. But I think it hurts your view if you can't possibly see both sides. Because it just makes it so much more interesting to see both perspectives and understand where they're both coming from, and maybe even agree partially with both of them, but you still are just like, you could see where that's happening.
If you look at Ellie, like, I think you can have such a great scene where where she talks about all the people that she lost, all the people that he lost, and how they could have been saved if Joel had let, like, so many people like them could have been saved if she had been able to make that sacrifice and had a cure made. And now all of the people that are still in their lives are still in danger because Joel didn't let her make that sacrifice that she was willing to make. And so anything that happens from now on, you know, good or bad, that's going to be on Joel. Anything that the virus does, a part of that will always be now on Joel.
But then it's also hard because, of course...
But he did it out of love.
Yeah, he did it out of love. He also, I feel like, had every reason to not want her to die.
Yeah.
Maybe he handled it poorly, but I think I can completely understand why he did that. And then also just the fact that they didn't tell her, regardless of what we think she was going to say, we don't know that at the end of the day. We don't 100% know. She could have... It's easy to say that you would sacrifice yourself when you've never actually been faced with that choice.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe she would have said yes and then backed out last minute and got scared. And that's fine. She's human. She's allowed to make that choice, but she wasn't given that choice. And didn't they say something like, we don't even 100% know if it's going to work? So maybe her sacrifice was still going to lead to nothing? I feel like they said something like that.
I think there was something about that element, but still, I think ultimately, Firefly's fault. You gotta ask, or else be prepared to play the bad guy proactively.
Yeah.
You can't be you can't be as a resistance movement for the humans an asshole against humans.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean you deserve to die, but you are. You're pissing people off. So dangerous people. So.
You have poked the proverbial bear.
Yeah. So. It's a messy situation, which just makes it all the more interesting to talk about.
Absolutely.
So.
And then the themes I think that they're really going to explore this season that they've already talked about is how violence as a reaction to a problem will just breed more violence, and how it'll have this cascading effect, and the idea that your actions have consequences, and your consequences will catch up to you, and then it'll just keep going until someone cuts the line. I'm going to be very interested to see how or when they do, like, when does it end?
Yeah, I don't know if it does.
The ultimate conclusion, otherwise, like, the show does just keep going on.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do this is where this ends. I think that could be really powerful if they do it right. But
we know nothing about if that happens or how that happens, so
yeah,
I'd be very interested to see.
And I will say I only had one con this episode.
Yeah.
There's a part that's really funny where someone is telling Ellie that she's just like Joel, and then she does something that is something I could never even imagine Joel doing,
or anyone with half a brain doing. She just yells out, I'm immune, like I got bit. I'm not infected.
It's like, wow, I think
she like screamed that.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, you're not immune to death
You're
in
not
other
immune to,
ways.
like, bullets and getting
Right?
experimented on in the camp.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, girl, I know you're 19, but you're too old for that. You're too old to be acting like that. So
that was the only thing that kind of took me out and was like, oh.
Yeah, that's a choice. I don't know if that
choice.
happens in the game, but I don't care. I would still say that's dumb if it happened in the game.
I would agree. Especially right after, man, you are so like Joel. Oh yeah, but it's not even a thing where
like
it's like,
Joel
would
would
Joel
never
do
do
this?
that. No.
I don't know.
I'm not saying he wouldn't be reckless, but he wouldn't do that. So.
Okay. Any other cons you wanted to talk about before we go into spoiler territory?
And the only other thing is, I feel like Ellie doesn't seem grown up to me. Maybe it's partially because of that, but I also feel like she kind of sounds like I don't know if it's like because her voice is higher pitched, but I feel like she just sounds like a teenager still. She doesn't sound like grown up. I don't know what it is. If it's her voice, I will say she did not seem like that in the later interview when it's Bella Ramsey talking and they're talking in their British accent. That seemed grown up to me. So I'm wondering, is it the American accent? Like, what's happening here? It's very interesting to me. But anyways,
I don't know, kiddo.
I don't know, man. It's not it. That's a nitpicky thing. That didn't really bother me as much as that one scene. So
Alrighty, well, so we are going to kick into our spoiler review and thoughts of this episode. So if you do still want to see it for yourself, I think we both would highly recommend getting on this trip with us. We are very excited for this week to week, and I think jump in, gang.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. So you have been warned. We're going to go ahead and start breaking it down. But real quick, I wanted to start with the 2 changes that were not in the game that they've added here. So you did bring it up a little bit earlier that now we have newer, smarter zombies.
What?
Whoa. That whole sequence with
Crazy.
the smarter zombie in the shop hunting Ellie down was so chilling. That first shot whenever she's sitting there on the shelf and then she moves and you realize that that's a living thing across the store. Oh my gosh, the
we
chills.
replayed that 3 times because it was
Because you thought it was a cat.
because I didn't realize how far away it was. I thought it was much closer, and so I was like, "There's no way a human is that small." I thought it was a cat, and then we replayed it. Oh, it was creepy once I realized it
very
was a human.
creepy. And
Once
you
I
see
saw it, I was like, "Ooh."
stalking her, and then it lures her to a place, and it knows to hide, and it knows to jump at her from an angle that she isn't expecting. So that's going to be very interesting, because typically throughout the gameplay that I've seen of it, it's an easy throw a bottle over here, sneak up behind it,
Yeah.
shoot or stab.
Very
And
easy.
so that's going to be so much more thrilling whenever they're
Challenging,
around these things now.
I agree.
So,
Oof.
woohoo! And then the other change, Joel is now a construction man, working to grow the town that they're settling in. And a part of that early on, they talk about some pipes that had roots growing in it, and then Joel has to deal with that briefly before switching to some other conversation. But at the very end, you see that in the vines, the little tendrils of the evil fungus is growing, and it's reaching for this like sparkler that's dropped on the ground.
Yep.
That's all. Ooh, so well done, so creepy. I don't know why.
I don't know what that means for them, but it's not good.
Yeah, and it's not from the comics, or it's not from the game.
Games.
So we don't know why that's happening. We don't know where
don't
those
know.
pipes lead to and what those could potentially be coming off of. So, ooh,
Yeah.
so much. I really hope that grows into something, because I feel like that's a pretty big deal, that it's able to grow so far and even intelligently. So I think that'll be really fascinating to see how it
What
how
does it
becomes.
mean? What does it mean?
But
Sorry.
going back into
Sorry.
our cast, we had Joel.
Joel.
He's a foreman again. He's going back into what job he had before the whole thing started, as he's settling back into a routine and a community. It's interesting to see him take up his old spot. He's a dad again. We've talked about it. He's not used to this phase yet of being a girl
Girlhood.
dad.
I'm just a girl in the world.
But
with
it's also
zombies.
interesting to see Dina kind of stepping up and being the fun
Like
daughter.
the nice
in
daughter.
his life.
What?
So that's really interesting to see them bonding so much and her wanting to learn from him. And then...
That'll create just such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and then the town...
We'll talk about later.
And then the town is growing a lot. So he is told he needs to start working faster. And he's like, oh, I'll just turn up the dial to an 11. You know,
Yeah.
the dial that all construction teams have, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that whole bit was done really well. And he's also... They mentioned something about him being on the council, or maybe being invited to the council. So it's interesting to see that maybe he's just not taking the seat that was offered. The council reconvenes towards the end of the episode,
Yeah,
and
he-
then
and he's not
he's not
there,
there.
and there's not even a chair or a spot for him, so it seems a little weird.
yeah. So especially as
See?
the person who's leading construction, I feel like you want a
Right.
voice there. But
Yeah,
whatever.
especially if Ellie's involved. Wouldn't he know that and want to be there? I don't know,
Mayhaps.
man.
But
I'm just assuming he didn't know.
I also think it's interesting with Joel's character that he's having so many other characters watch out for Ellie on behalf of him, even because they're not close enough for him to do it directly. And I think that adds to the kind of helicopter parenting that Ellie is so sick of at this point.
Yep. Because now it's like everyone's
Yeah.
Even Dina is like, yeah, you should like come over and watch movies with me and Joel. And she's like, I know what you're doing. Whatever. So yeah.
So I think it's all really interesting. I think I'm really enjoying seeing him. And then his scene with Gale, the therapist, he's in therapy. And we learned that he apparently killed Gale's husband at some point a year ago, which was, they got there 5 years ago. So then that means that her husband some way, somehow got infected.
Yep.
And Joel was responsible for killing him. And then she has still resented him ever since and says the horrible thing out loud, I hate you. Joel, person who paid to talk to me right now, I hate you.
But I mean, that was very interesting because that's her way of being like, look, at me reaching out and saying the hard thing, now you do it.
Yeah, your turn.
Which he can't, not to Gale at least. I really hope he doesn't, because you just can't. Talk to Tommy about that or talk to Ellie about that. Do not talk to your... don't talk
you
about...
have to talk about it with Ellie.
Yeah.
Or like start that... I feel like they're going to start the conversation and then it's never going to finish. Which is going to be even more...
I will say...
I feel like he has to give something to show, to talk about why he did what he did to Ellie.
Right. I will say in the game, I believe I saw that there is going to be like a sort of flashback scene to a conversation, or like a scene that's already happened, except we're missing half of it. I think. I don't really say this as spoilers because I don't even know 100% if this is going to happen. That's just from my understanding, is that they almost talked in one scene, but then it looked like they didn't. But apparently in the game, I think they do. And we'll see that later.
Interesting.
I can't really say much without any other further spoilers, but...
And then, honestly, I think we've talked...
I'd imagine that's where it would be.
And then we've talked a lot about everything Ellie's going through.
Yeah.
Like we said, she's lost so much. She thought she had a chance to kind of make it all be worth something. Joel took that away from her and then lied about it. So now she's dealing with this life she never asked for. She wants to always be out there in danger. Everyone doesn't know that she is immune to the disease, so everyone's still acting like she needs to be like everyone else.
Yeah.
Which, to blend in, she definitely does, but...
And I have to wonder what that means for Dina, too, because they're such a duo. And so at some point, like, I mean, again, I have no idea what the fate is for them. So maybe they do, like... Or,
you would think
I
that
don't
she would
know.
catch on eventually, if this is
Yeah.
a long-lasting thing. And I'm really interested to see how that does end up getting revealed.
Yeah. But also, it's just, until it gets revealed, at what point does Ellie become so reckless that it puts Dina in danger? Because it arguably, it already has.
It definitely already has.
So, I don't know, man.
Oh, and then also, speaking of Ellie, whenever she does get bit in the store, and you see the tendril, like, sticking out of her bite wound. Oh, no.
No. I don't care if I'm immune. I would have freaked out.
I would have plucked it out.
Right?
Like, ew.
Immediately. Because someone brought up a good point. I mean, maybe it doesn't infect you, but is it still like going to be in you forever? Right? I'm like, oh my gosh, too many things.
And then, something I do want to bring up is that scene at the party. And it's the scene where her and Dina share their first kiss. And there's that great line of, all of these other boys in the room who are staring, they should be scared of you. They should be terrified.
Oh, that delivery was
That's
so
a great
good.
line.
So good.
And then you have Seth, I think was his name,
I think so.
being homophobic and being like, hey, this is a family event.
touch me.
Get out of here. And then he calls them the D word. And then
Yeah, it says this is a church.
And then in comes girl dad Joel and pushes him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny because your fiance was like, what do you say? Oh my gosh, that was so much worse in the game. Like, he just totally beat him up in the game. And then I almost immediately go to Twitter and I see the scene from the game, and he still
And
also just pushes him.
But he doesn't even fall on the ground in the game. It's just like,
I'm like,
bro,
no.
Stop.
So maybe, like, that's an incomplete scene. I don't know. But I just thought that was funny that he was like, it's so much worse. Because his fiance has played the game. He's the only one that's watching that has played the game. He's like, it's so much worse in the game, and then it wasn't.
It was definitely not.
not in the video that I saw. So in that context, it was very funny. So
That's really funny. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's really touching to see, in today's day and age, him still standing up for his daughter.
mhm.
And then the idea that those kind of people are going to be there no matter what, even in the frickin' apocalypse, where you could be a mushroom-headed freak, and then you're still gonna. That's gonna be your biggest issue here, sir. Go on patrol. Go on patrol right now.
Right.
But I think that whole scene was done really well.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about Catherine O'Hara. She is gunning for that Emmy this season.
Good for her.
I think she is
Very
making
talented.
A very good argument for it.
Mhm.
So
Which I saw. I think she's already won an Emmy before because she has her
Yes,
own
she
show.
has.
So I'm not gonna be heartbroken if it goes to Carrie Coon instead, because that's also, that's two really good monologues. So we'll see.
For
But they're
sure.
both great.
And then Dina, played by Isabella Merced. They're close to Joel and Ellie. We love the dynamic between all that whole triangle thing going on. I think it's all really touching.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also interesting that her on again, off again, now X, now off
yes.
again, Jesse.
Yeah.
I love to see him. They have to deal with the fact that they have this complicated history. He's still
Yeah.
her boss as far as who goes on patrols, which I think is interesting.
Mhm.
And then every scene I've really enjoyed seeing him. I actually know him from
For
Beef,
beef. Mhm.
and he was great in that.
Yep.
So I love to see him get more work as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
So very exciting. I really like all of the new inclusions they have so far.
Mhm.
I think, and even the ones that we've just briefly seen, I'm just still so excited to learn more about them.
Mhm.
So some really great additions. I think we had a lot of people come and go for a couple episodes the last season. So
Mhm.
I think it'll be nice to see some ensembles staying around and doing some stuff. Hopefully everyone kind of grows into a role that's very memorable for them. So I'm very
Yeah.
excited. And then I also put down that Tommy and Maria. Tommy is Joel's brother, played by Gabriel Luna, and Rutina Wesley is Maria. The biggest thing is that they have a new son
They have a son.
named
He's
Benjamin,
such a
and he is
cutie.
so cute.
He's such a
oh my
cutie.
gosh. So
I love
cute.
that.
So,
Mhm.
love that. So, and it's weird. It's not like other things where we can kind of talk about and guess what's going to happen because we already know a little bit more
Yeah.
than they're talking. So,
It's
but
just more of what we feel about the setup for what's to come. And I
Yeah.
think I feel pretty solid on most fronts. So.
Oh, and then something else to talk about. I loved how Abby had the opening scene and the ending scene of this episode.
Mhm.
So I'm very excited.
It's very interesting.
My thought going forward, as someone who doesn't know the game, so this is just what I would anticipate based on
Just little bits.
the episode.
And the
is
big
I
thing.
feel like they're probably going to try and sneak in as like the refugees coming in because they made such a point of talking about how we're taking in too many.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting if maybe they're on the
Oh,
one that
what
Joel
if they're
stops
rejected?
and they have to deal with that, and then that maybe even leads more into everyone being like,
More
"Oh,
of the anger.
Joel did this, and this is how he treats
Oof.
the people who aren't with him." And I think,
Oh, such bad timing.
yeah, it would be. So I'm very interested to see how that all goes. Do they stay in the town a little bit before they start doing
Yeah.
wicked stuff? I'm very, very excited to see. Are they trying to sabotage the town? Are they just
Yeah.
here for Joel? It would be a little hypocritical if they messed up the town.
Yeah.
But also, we've seen the trailer and we see that stuff gets eventful there
Yeah.
later. So
So,
very interesting
see.
to see when that happens. I don't know how long we stay here.
yeah.
I want to
Because
stay
also
here
I
a
don't
little longer
know.
personally.
Yeah. Because also I don't know what's a flashback versus like what actually happens this season, like timeline wise. So I don't know. I'm excited though.
it's all
The
very-
teaser was really good.
It's very exciting.
Ugh.
I really hope we have some episodes as strong as season 1 did.
Yeah.
They had some killer episodes. I know we've seen at least one flashback in the episode to what happened with Eugene, with Gail's husband. I'm very
Yes.
excited to see that happen. I'm sure Catherine O'Hara's going to act her butt off.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just so excited to see what happens. I want to see more zombies. I want to see new things. I want to see drama. I want to see action. And I feel like the show's gonna provide on most of those things. So there's a big thing that we're waiting
Excited.
for. It's really
Probably won't have
there's
to
a
wait
lot
very
of people
long.
talking about how long that's gonna happen.
So
feel
I'm so
like-
happy for you if you haven't gotten it spoiled, because I think it will. Well, maybe not. I'm scared for you. Actually,
Yeah.
is the better word. But
If you
it's
don't
fine.
know, enjoy the surprise. I'm gonna
Enjoy.
be fascinating to see what your reaction is.
Yeah.
because it's gonna be a pretty uncommon,
Pretty big
amongst
one.
most people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very interested to see when that big
So.
event happens. I would guess in the next episode or two, if I
Me
had
too.
to guess.
I think it's still gonna be the next, but if they fill it with enough flashbacks and lead up, they could maybe stretch it out another one. But I think it has to be the third, if not the second. So we'll get to talk about it soon. Next couple weeks. Don't you worry.
So that being said,
Yeah.
I'm so excited that this show is back.
Me too.
I think I was really, and it also snuck up on me. We were so
Mhm.
busy with this podcast and everything else going on that,
Yeah.
like movies, we are on top of about when and where we're gonna cover it.
Mhm.
This one completely snuck up on us. I remember being
Yeah.
like, "Man, White Lotus is done," and we did that so much.
Uh-huh.
That was such like a part of our routine. What are we gonna do now? And you were like, "Oh,
Last of
it's
Us.
getting replaced by The Last of Us."
Yeah.
And I was like,
Well, and the week after Daredevil ends is when Andor season 2 starts. So we're still gonna have our Sunday and Tuesday
that is
shows. Don't you worry.
fascinating.
hmm
Andor.
I think
Interesting.
that's
So we
smart.
have
If they have
Daredevil
enough
and
content to do it, I think that's really smart. Keeps people
So we have-
subscribed. Keeps people watching.
So we have
So.
Dare, Lotus, and we have the last.
The last
Andor.
Andor. Yeah. Dang.
So very interesting.
I'm
So
excited.
something I do want to see if you as our audience has any input. Would you like us to do what we did with White Lotus and Daredevil, where we kind of split an episode talking about both of them,
Mhm.
or would you be more interested in us possibly just having an episode for each?
Mhm.
That would
Let us
potentially just be a
know.
little shorter. Let us know what you would like to see if you want to hear
Mhm.
us potentially have more room to talk about some of these
Mhm.
things from each episode, or
Yeah.
if you just want to save time and have us push it all
All
into
in
one and
one.
cover the bigger
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
So-
And then you would have to wait a little longer as well.
Yeah.
Because we'd have to wait till the Tuesday show comes out and then film it and release it. So
But
Yeah.
let us know. We are very excited. We have Sinners coming up this weekend, which we will cover
yes.
sometime
We're watching
in the next
that
week.
separately.
Black
and then we're watching Black Mirror separately,
I'm
so
very
those will be
excited for
interesting.
all of this stuff that's coming
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, let us know your favorite zombie
Okay.
movie or show.
Oh, okay.
What's your favorite zombie
Yeah.
movie or show? Not your favorite zombie.
I was like, okay.
Your favorite
Sure.
zombie movie or show. There are some great ones out there. I know this one is a huge standout right now, and recency bias be
Mhm.
damned.
But
what
also,
are
you
some-
know, you have World War Z, you have Walking Dead. So, isn't like 28 Days Later also like
28
a
Days
zombie
Later is also
esque thing?
zombie-esque.
Yeah. So you got some options and probably plenty more. I was just off the top of my
28
head.
Days
So
Later comes out. I'm very excited.
28
this
years
year 'cause
later.
Marvel
Mhm.
Zombies has, I think it's a
True.
4-episode special coming out this year,
Ooh,
which
and
I'm
that counts
so
too.
excited about.
that counts too if you want to say that for even though it's one episode.
It's 4 episodes.
Well, I mean, like the one that has already come out.
oh yeah,
Because
the
they
one
can't
that
say if
said
if
in
the
What
show
If.
is their favorite if it hasn't come out yet. But
Sure,
if the
sure, sure.
episode was
I think
I
Warm
understand.
Bodies. Anybody?
okay. Anyways,
But that
Yeah.
is all of our thoughts there. We're
Mhm.
going to wrap this up. So thank you
Mhm.
guys so much for listening to us. Let us know what you thought about the first episode of The Last of Us Season 2. We'd love to hear
Mhm.
what you think.
yeah.
So until the next time, I am Luke.
And I'm Alicia.
And thank you for watching Not So Straight Nerds.
Bye.